Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Londonderry Town Council meeting. Today is February 5th, and it is 7 o'clock. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ladies and gentlemen, all of our firefighters were out practicing today. They were, doing drills and learning how to approach a home during fires and everything. Let's have good thoughts for their safety as they continue to do their training. Thank you. Okay, so we got public comment. Counselor Combs couldn't be here. He had surgery, and he asked me to read a letter that he sent. Hello, Chairman Farrow. Please have this email read into the record for public comment tonight. February 5th Town Council meeting, as I will not be attending due to a recent back surgery. On January 31st, I Ted Combs had recently gotten home and was resting in bed for a very painful surgery. When about an hour and a half to be home, my wife had gone to pick up our son from school at 5:07 p.m. Our fire alarms in our house were going off frantically with smoke in the basement. I called 911 right away. I could barely move from the bed. Within minutes, the whole battalion was here at the scene of our house and helping me get out of the house safely. Thankfully, the Londonderry Fire Department did not find a fire in the basement. They did find extreme levels of carbon monoxide in the basement and in the whole house. If they did not get here any sooner, I was not able to get out of the house sooner than I did. I would have had carbon monoxide poisoning on top of my surgery that I had had that day on the 31st. The Londonderry Fire Department, with not all of them, men and women on the scene, knowing that I was a town councilor, and I did not introduce myself as one, treated myself, my mother, my wife, my son, with the utmost care and respect to make sure we were healthy, calm, felt safe before leaving the scene to the lieutenant on scene, who played with my son to make him feel safe. And when I could not hold him, my wife and I wholeheartedly thank you. To the battalion chief, John Camere, who came back on that night and brought us space heaters to keep warm overnight as our furnace was completely shot. We thank you. A second thank you to Battalion Chief Camere for staying longer than he needed to at our home to make sure I was medically still okay and I was not holding any food or liquids down. My wife and I want to thank you incredibly so. My wife and I would like to thank our HVAC company, Paul the Plumber, for coming out for an emergency on the 31st, cleaned out the entire furnace for 5 hours, which just had a deep cleaning on December 9th. Did not feel safe turning it back on that night and sent out their expert in the morning for another 6 hours to fix our furnace. Then for it to stop it working again on Friday night, they came back out on Monday, February 5th, to do a major replacement. Thank you to Paul the Plumber for standing by your word and protecting your customers and working the job until 100% safe. The town of Londonderry citizens could not be any luckier to have the fire department that is a professional, speedy, and due diligent in making everyone safe in their own home. As well as anyone who uses Paul the Plumber in town, you should sit well at ease that you use a very reputable HVAC company in southern New Hampshire. Thank you, Town Councilor Ted Combs and his wife, Kara Massingham. Well, very happy to hear that things turned out well. And thank you to the fire department. Battalion Chief Camere, thank you very much. With that, we are open for public comment.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Daniel Bouchard, 8 O'Connell Drive, Londonderry. I just want to touch on a few things. The last town council meeting, a resident from Londonderry came up and suggested you should try to look at curtailing public comment somehow, like the state does. I just want to thank you for allowing public comment. I think it's a great thing. You are always asking for citizens to come out. You want to hear about it. The state does the way the state does. The government does the way the government does. And I think what you do here in Londonderry, and I know it's not easy, and I appreciate everything you guys do. It can be tough sometimes. You have some tough issues, and sometimes people get upset. I've gotten upset with you. And, you know, we don't always agree, but I think it's a good thing that you allow it. I just want to touch on, recently we had that airplane crash in Londonderry. I have been, and you know this, Mike, I've been asking about that foam on the fire trucks. Has that been gotten rid of?
Foam on the fire trucks?
Yeah, because
I think the answer is it remains in progress. I would ask the fire chief to provide a further update on that. But I know that there's been communication with the state. The state has made certain representations about when that program is coming. My understanding is that it is coming, not as quickly as everyone would like, but it remains in process.
Okay, my concern is, you know, for 2 years I've been asking about this because, you know, that foam, if it gets used and, you know, we're always concerned about the water quality. Well, with that, hi, Chief.
Good evening.
And it's not on this guy. You know, it's before that. You know, when I brought this up, it was, it's expensive to get rid of. It's expensive to get rid of. And I've always said, you know what? If you use that stuff and you contaminate a neighborhood, all right, and their well water, it's going to be a lot more expensive for this town. So, you know, I think it's something that, yeah, it'd be nice to have a sign out front, but I think this is a priority. I mean, when I brought this up before, Darren said, well, we'd never use that in a neighborhood. Well, guess what? In a plane crash, if there was fire there, maybe we would have. I don't know.
Thankfully,
We didn't.
I was only half a mile from my house, and there was no fire, thankfully.
Yeah?
And the response from the fire department was amazing.
Oh, it is. I mean, and I don't question that response whatsoever. My whole thing is, you know, we have like this ticking time bomb on the trucks. And I don't understand why we still have it.
Mr. Chair, the TM is absolutely right, that we are waiting for the state to finish up on their end, at which point a recovery process will be identified and executed. But the good news for this specific incident is that firefighting foam was not used at all.
Okay, because this came out just after we had the fire in Epping, and they used the firefighter foam there, and now they have a massive hazard cleanup, you know? So,
We got lucky that day.
okay, we got lucky, but I'm sure there's money in the town that we could take care of the chief's issue, so he doesn't end up with his hands tied, you know? That's all I ask. Can you tell me when the signs are going up on Mammoth Road?
When
The stop signs?
When the stop signs are going up on Mammoth
Yeah,
Road?
I mean, it was,
I'll have someone get back to you. I don't know.
okay, because, you know,
But I'll ask someone from Public Works to get an answer to the town manager and get back to you.
okay. And at the last meeting, you said that the 91As were going to be posted, the requests on the website?
Yes, that will be completed by the end of this week.
Okay, and is there going to be like a link that you can just go and look at these
Yes.
things? Okay,
With instructions.
so I just don't want to be hunting all over the place for it, you know?
It will be done by the end of this week, and, well, we will put most of them out, and it's something that's going to continue as a progressive thing, so as we get them and release them, we'll continue to put more out, and we're going to continue with only what's over the past year, but by the end of this week, we'll have the majority of them out.
Is there any way of keeping a tally of how much this is costing the town, the taxpayers?
That person is working on that as well.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
I figure I'd ask you instead of asking for a 91A.
Sounds great.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment? Hi, sir. Name and address, please.
Ken Samoset, Felsher Road. I want to talk about a couple things. I guess basically it's the attack on free speech. This is a very deep global plan. It's corporate infiltration that starts at the federal level, comes down to state, goes down to local. Started with Obama's Countering Foreign Disinformation Act. Biden tried to do his 5507 bill, his disinformation board. You hear the same rhetoric in these people. Disinfo, misinfo, extremists, agitators, isolated group of 12. All right, free speech is under attack. This isn't hyperbole. There's programs in place already that's censoring people's speech. In the EU, they have the Digital Services Act regulations. It's unelected UN and WHO setting policy. It's going to erode national sovereignty and individual sovereignty. Those countries are going to be forced to designate disinformation boards, okay? And what comes over there is coming here. They've already dissolved those borders. Now you see what's happening here. At a local level, at the last meeting, what that guy was talking about, from that one comment from that man, I don't know who he was, I forget, Dolan. He's talking about compliance. He's talking about boundaries to public comment. He mentioned the State House. When I think of the State House, I think of the Executive Council meeting from October 13th, 2021, where they arrested 9 people. All those charges were dropped. That was tyranny is what that was. They arrested one woman for saying amen. This is the slippery slope we're on. This is what's going on. And all those people were arrested for was opposing the COVID money. When you take federal dollars, strings come with it. That's the first time you saw me, was with the vaccine clinics they talked about in Deb Paul's paper when they took the COVID money. Okay? So with that money comes propaganda, comes giveaways, comes little trinkets that governors want to give you for submitting to what they wanted you to do. Okay? When that fails, they pass laws. They hide behind abortion laws, California, Ohio. Look at what's going on now. 11 to 12-year-olds can have informed consent. I have a 12-year-old, okay? So a teacher can confuse him to take a shot. This is true. These laws just passed in Ohio, all right? It's a big deal. Then I get down to the local level, and what they mentioned last week was the town manager in the Deb Paul scenario. Over one word, seduced. How does that get as far as it got? How does it get to a lawsuit? I just don't get that. I don't get how somebody can say, oh, well, I don't like that word, so I'm going to sue her. And it reminds me to my public comment last May. At the end of May, I made some public comment. In the very next meeting, Bob comes out and says, we checked with our lawyers and everything was protected free speech. Of course it was. But who made that plea to him to check with his lawyers? Where'd that come from? Okay, did they want to do the same thing to me they did to Deb Paul? Sue me for public speak?
Can I
So-
just, let him finish.
Thank you.
So not only based on that, but also in the Londonderry Times over the summer, there was an editorial by the town manager, and he used those words, misinformation, disinformation. This is how you recognize it, okay? I don't know. I think I've said enough. That's it.
Well, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Sean Faber, 73 Old Nashville Road. I just had a quick question. There's a House bill that a lot of people in town are aware of, House Bill 1002, dealing with 91As. Are there a lot of 91A requests that come from outside Londonderry that we have to serve in town? Like, just ballpark percentage?
It depends. Not recently, but during election years, during the time in which Kevin Smith ran for U.S. Senate before he was town manager, there was a lot that came from outside of the state and several other areas. So it depends.
Okay.
But by state law, we will answer 91As and we will comply with the law.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
On the 91A, Christine Perez, 5 Wesley Drive, Londonderry. On the 91As, it's my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, that we have a town has now started having our lawyer answer the 91As. Is it all of them? Is it some of them? Is it
Our lawyers have been answering 91As for 15 years.
all of them? I mean,
on a case-by-case basis at some.
Okay,
at
on a
some
case-by-case basis.
at
I've
some-
been
at-
fortunate.
At some portions, Attorney Ramsdale answered everyone 91A. Over the last 15 years, it's been probably 90% answered by attorneys. When Mr. Malaguti was the town solicitor, the attorney for the town, he answered all the 91As. So traditionally, the lawyers have always answered the 91As.
Okay. I'm fortunate. I have never had to file a 91A with the town. I've always had everything answered for me without having to file a 91A, which I appreciate. But there is also a bill coming up that will probably pass, that the archives are going to allow towns to the state archives to upload all of their stuff to the state archives, so people will be able to access that information through the state archives, which, if passed, and if it goes as smoothly as they think it will go, it has to go through finance, then there's a possibility that it may cut way back on the cost of 91As for towns. So keep an eye on it. So.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Good evening, Mr. Chair, town leadership. I just would like to give an update on the fire department on 2 items. The first being the plane crash. As you know, on the 26th, the town received national attention when a plane fell out of the sky and crashed behind number 5 Colonial Drive, which was another high-risk, low-frequency event that the fire department responded to. The pilot, who was the only soul on board at the time of the crash, miraculously survived and is still recovering in a Boston hospital with extensive facial trauma at this time. What was awesome about this from our aspect is within 11 minutes, LFD crews had the pilot extricated from the cockpit of the plane, which is just incredible. After the life safety component was secured, we had to then go into the mitigation of the aviation the fuel on the ground, which is about 250 gallons. And this ties into an aspect of the fire department that really doesn't get a lot of attention, but is truly mission critical, and that is the demobilization of the recovery phase after an incident. Because of the amount of jet fuel on the ground, we had 8 sets of structural firefighting gear that is supplied by the taxpayers that was contaminated. We sent it down to a company in Massachusetts to get inspected and then cleaned, and I'm very happy to report that of those 8 sets of PPE, we got them all back cleaned. We did lose some gloves and some other small items. What's nice being new in these roles is we don't necessarily have all the information. We're not dug into any position. And because we're not, we're able to stay flexible and move and try to get creative. So a lot of this stuff we try to pursue through Primex, which is the town's insurance company. However, we learned Primex doesn't insure the recovery of pollution. So now we are pursuing the airline instead to get those hopefully returned to us, which is pretty cool. The training burn. So today we had another training burn. This is the second burn we did in less than 5 months down at 20 Young Road across from Station 2. One of the things we did when we first took over the new leadership team is we did a SWOT analysis on the fire department, and one of the threats that we identified was the inexperience level of a newer department. But we actually turned it into an opportunity and leaned into that opportunity through training. So through Aaron and Kate Orso of DHB Homes, they're the ones who donated both 20 and 22 Young Road to the fire department to allow us to train in and on. And today we successfully completed the second training burn down there. This is an event that takes a lot of prep work by our command staff in order to pull off, because NFPA 1403 dictates what we have to do to ensure a successful burn is executed. And Battalion Chief Jeff Anderson, who's the department's training officer in charge, did an awesome job on the first one, 22 Young Road, got a lot of experience from that one, was able to apply it at number 20. It was very successful. We had no injuries. I'm happy to report we have no field losses, so damaged equipment. And the crews got about 13 evolutions of live fire training where they learn fire behavior, fire science, fire extinguishment, and so on, to build upon their experience foundations, which helps us become better well-rounded. Unique on this burn is we also hosted a contingent of Derry firefighters. The town of Derry has a young department as well. We had an opportunity. We reached out to them. They came. Eventually, in the future, that will be reciprocated, and that's a good mutual aid partner. I'd also like to publicly apologize to Tom Esty. It was brought to my attention that the burn caused a lot of smoke to drift his way, so we do, on behalf of the fire department, I do apologize for that. And that is all I have for a command update, if there are any questions.
Thank you, Chief.
You're welcome.
Something real quick
Yeah,
on
sure.
that. So I had the opportunity to stop by for about 30, 40 minutes. And one thing I noticed that there was a large amount of firefighters that had an orange patch right on their shield. And obviously you know, but for those who don't, that says probationary on it.
Yes,
And there was a lot of them.
there's a lot of them.
A lot of them.
Yep.
And what I enjoyed seeing for the short time that I was there, the rate of when they were going in, and other people also might not know that the uniforms, your bunker gear, different colors of the reflective gear, different trousers and coats and everything means different things. And having an officer go in with them, a lieutenant or one of the battalion chiefs and everything, continuously going in through those, and you mentioned 13 on average 13
Yes.
revolutions per firefighter, and just getting that experience. So in fact, I saw during the time I was there a ladder that was set up to the roof, even though there were access holes per the, what is it,
NFPA 1403, that's
Thank
right.
you. There were already access holes, but there was some training. There was a lieutenant on the roof with a probationary firefighter that was practicing cutting a hole in a roof. And just seeing that talks about, to me, the benchmarking that was going on with Derry and Londonderry and the partnership there, and there was really a sense of, I want to pass my knowledge as a senior officer to these junior firefighters, these probationary firefighters. And that really goes to leadership. Being in the military myself, I know you are as well. Your subordinate leaders are a direct reflection of the leadership that their superiors have. And that goes to you and your command staff and the admin over there. I would just want to say thank you very much for doing that. Thank you for providing the training for these firefighters to keep our community safe. We heard an example that John read into the minutes at the beginning about how the professionalism that your fire department, our fire department, had with keeping. They didn't even know who it was.
No.
They acted the same, to going the extra mile, bringing space heaters over. That is highly, I commend that. I know that all of our first responders from DPW and police would do the same, and they do the same. So I really appreciate just the work you do as they
There
buzz
they
by
go.
right now. And to our other first responder leaders, thank you very much for all you do. So good work.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Public comment? So, ladies and gentlemen, public comment in Londonderry remains the same. Just like Councilor State Rep Dolan came in here and he gave his point of view, you gave your point of view. And that's what public comment's all about, there's no foothold to change. There's no one's come and said we're making any changes. Public comment is public comment. So, thank you. With that, public comment's closed. New business, order 2024-03, an expenditure from the Maintenance Trust Fund, winter maintenance. I'm looking at withdrawal from the trust fund of $18,000. Hey, Dave?
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Town Manager. That is correct. The first allocation of the $18,000 has been expended, and I am now looking for the second winter maintenance allocation for $18,000 for the purposes of paying bills for the winter maintenance at 8 town buildings. Town Hall, Library, Police Department, the Access Center, Senior Center, and all 3 fire stations as well. And I have all the bills from the first set of allocations if you wish to review those as well.
Any questions?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to adopt Order 2024-03.
Second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Chair votes affirmative. Dave, you have Order 2024 for another withdrawal from the Maintenance Trust Fund for, this is for South Fire Station.
Correct. So we've had this is actually our second incident that we've had down there with some of the CPVC piping that they decided to maybe do some cost cutting on when they built the building. Last time was on the cold water line. This time it's on the hot water line, and so I had to kind of quickly get a plumber down there. Unfortunately, in an emergency type to get it to shut down. I did have them cut a valve in this time on the hot water line, and the cost for that call-in was $801.10. So I'm looking for approval for that.
Any questions?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to adopt Order 2024-04.
Second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Chair votes in the affirmative. Order 202-04 passes 3-0. All right, thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
Resolution 2024-02, acceptance of unanticipated revenue, Alexander Eastman Foundation AED Loaner Program.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is as you've often talked about, Mr. Chairman, you know, the time frame between when somebody goes into cardiac arrest and when they can be revived is vanishingly short. And it depends really on the availability of an AED, and if not, then a fast response from the fire department or a town vehicle that has an AED in it. This is a program, Mr. Chairman, that is in existence in the town of Derry, and it's a grant that is awarded by the Alexander Eastman Foundation. This is a group that awards money for health and wellness in the greater Derry, Londonderry area. The program in Derry is, as I said, the first grant awarded by the Eastman Foundation of this type, and it has been successful. $3,000 should be sufficient to acquire 3 AEDs, and the idea is that it would be operated as a loaner program. So if there is a wedding, you know, previously weddings, bar mitzvahs, what have you, were conducted at the Lions Hall. You know, if the Lions Hall didn't have an AED in it, then the AED could be lent by the fire department to make sure that if you have an event like that and you have a lot of people, obviously the odds increase that something might happen. If somebody has a family member who is visiting, who has a known cardiac issue, you know, perhaps it could be used for that purpose. And so we've had consultation with the fire department, who are willing to administer this program. They support it. And the Eastman Foundation has made this award to the town of Londonderry. I bring it before you tonight for consideration.
Questions?
Just real quick, there's zero cost for the use of these for residents, correct?
The residents who take the AED out would not be charged. There is a de minimis charge to replace the batteries periodically that the town would absorb, but certainly not anything significant.
Okay, thank you.
Accept the motion.
So, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 2024-02.
Second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Chair votes in the affirmative. Resolution 2024-02 has passed.
Thank you.
Resolution 2024-03, the readoption of the amended election campaign video policy. So this came to my attention, and I want to say it was last year, and it was towards once things had already gotten on a roll and everything. And last year I had asked the town manager to look into this. It was, as a matter of fact, it was Glenn Douglas brought it to my attention, and I thought his comments were appropriate and that we should make a change.
That's correct, Mr. Chairman. So this is a policy that hadn't been updated since 2002, to my knowledge. The cable director has taken a comprehensive look at this, has made some suggested revisions. I realize this is the first time the council is seeing this, so I'm happy to have this be a work session tonight with any input from the council that I can take back. Or I can flag, what I think is the primary change, which is instead of having a cutoff date by which candidate videos have to be delivered to the cable studio, this just adopts a first come, first serve approach and will air videos on a rotating schedule that advances as we move closer to the election. I think that this is a fairly narrow policy in scope, applying really only to candidate videos. There's other programming that is adopted, issues, and of course residents produce their own programs through the cable department. So I view this as fairly narrow in scope, but I'm happy to take any feedback back to the cable director, or if the council's happy with the draft, we can move forward.
Go ahead.
Just a question regarding section 3A, where it says candidates will be informed as to how they can create their own campaign video in the studio utilizing volunteers. Candidates are free to create campaign videos using their own means. Just a point of clarification on that. Actually, a comment and then a question. So when I had ran, I was honored to be on the Londonderry View.
Yes.
And after that, the cable director had allowed me to record a 30-second spiel of why I was running, separate from the View. Will that still be allowed? Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. My expectation, my understanding is yes. Anybody is welcome to take advantage of this resource that we have as a community, and certainly the intent of these changes is not to remove that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I have no further questions.
I have a quick question. Would this still allow us to get assistance from the cable company to produce our video?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we're trying to make it easier and not harder.
Yeah, no, just,
I'm good with it.
All good with it?
Moving forward.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 2024-03.
second?
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Chair votes in the affirmative. Mr. Douglas, thank you for bringing that to my attention. Number 5, Londonderry Professional Firefighters Association 3160 Vacation Cash Out Sidebar Agreement.
Mr. Chairman, this is ordinarily something that wouldn't rise to the level of council involvement. However, I am mindful that there was quite a bit of discussion about 2 years ago about some sidebars that had been previously adopted, and the council's expectation at that time, as it was expressed to me, was bring all sidebars to the council for our awareness. This is really an administrative change. Every union that we have gives notice in December that they. And let me back up a moment. Most or all of our CBAs have a vacation cash out option for folks who have unused vacation time. The town will buy back that time each year. That's negotiated through our collective bargaining agreements. You have to give notice that you're going to be exercising that, and you have to do it unless you're the fire union in December. We noted that the fire union had a differing deadline. It was October. And asked them if they would be willing to basically conform to what everybody else does. There's no monetary effect. There's no monetary change, and they were willing to do that. And so I'm bringing that before the council, not for any formal action, but to make sure that there isn't an objection or a concern.
All set?
Yeah. All set.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Next item, 2024 Presidential Primary Election Recap. Jonathan Kemp.
Mr. Moderator.
Good evening, Jonathan Kipp, Town Moderator. Thank you for having me. I just wanted to provide a recap on the presidential primary we held. And a lot of this information I also shared with the school board at their meeting last week, because the school is a partner in our elections and they provide a lot of resources to assist us. So First, I want to acknowledge all of those who contributed to the success of the election, starting with town administration, each of our departments, which I'll do in alphabetical order so as not to play favorites. The fire department, where the chief went. Police, thank you, chief. Public Works. A lot of those agencies do a lot behind the scenes that the public will never see, but it's much appreciated, and I'll especially call out Public Works for that. Our alert team, they stand their post from 6 a.m. till 8 p.m., no complaints from them, so we're very glad to have them. I do have just some hand-picked statistics to share with you for your information. We had over 8,800 ballots cast in the primary, split roughly 75% Republican, 25% Democrat, and that includes absentee ballots following the same percentages. We had 511 people register as voters in Londonderry on Election Day. So that brings us now at over 17,000 registered voters on the checklist. Question I got frequently, how many write-ins did Joe Biden get on the Democratic side? 1,272. We did have two candidate visits, Dean Phillips and Donald Trump, one Democrat, one Republican. This was my first presidential primary. Wasn't quite sure what to expect, but our goal was to handle those with as minimal a disruption to the voters as possible. And as possible is key there because there were a lot of people that wanted to see the candidates. But I think with the assistance of our law enforcement partners, we handled it as effectively as we could. And I've learned a few lessons that I'll apply next time that happens. Another area of concern is traffic to and from, which I think you probably all have heard about. That's a challenging situation, and we've already been in discussions, again, with the police department about remedies we can take going forward. I will say that for a large election, unless and until we make some major changes in town, which would include additional polling places or a new road, for example, that can get us out of the gym parking lot somehow, we're going to be faced with traffic. We have one way in and one way out. And again, our law enforcement folks and alert do their best. We have a lot of voters turn out, which is terrific. They just have to wait in line. The good news is I chatted with many people standing in line after they had parked as the line moved along, and they were all very pleasant. It's a nice day, glad to be out, glad to be here, and the line was, I literally walked beside the line as it was moving in, so inside we're able to process our voters very quickly, which I think helps with the outside line management as well. So with that, I will close and let you know a reminder that we have our deliberative sessions on Friday night for the school district, Saturday morning for the town. I hope to see many, many, many voters there. And then on March 12th, we get to do it all over again. So fasten your seatbelts. Any questions?
I just wanted to say thank you, our town clerk as well, the school moderator for just leading from the front, and a phenomenal job. The hours, the supervisors, the assistants to people working the pull pads and everything, the amount of hours that go into the process pre-election, during election, and post is unspeakable, and it's completely appreciated, at least for me and the community. And I also greatly appreciate just the security of the elections, the process from meeting with police escort from our vault, our safe, to the election site, and then returning those ballots back home in the vault, as well to a police escort for the clerk to bring the results to that centralized location. I greatly appreciate just all the work that you and your team put together, and thank you as well. Great work and great work.
Thank you. Much appreciated. It is a team effort.
So as the guy who was stationed outside all day, over 8,000 people walked past me. Nobody asked me about their tax bill. Nobody complained. Nobody said anything of any negativity at all. Wow. It was an amazing day. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
It's our pleasure.
Good work.
Okay. I'll accept the motion to approve the minutes from January 22nd, 2024 as presented.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Chair votes in the affirmative. Liaison reports, anything to report from a liaison report standpoint?
Just the deliberative sessions this weekend.
I did have the occasion because of the incident with the plane to spend a lot of time with the airport director. We were able to catch up, and as usual, a lot of positive things coming out of the airport. I also did have the occasion to meet Mayor Rujas, and we're scheduling some time to spend together, and nice to meet the new mayor of Manchester. Town manager report.
None this evening, Mr. Chairman.
Assistant town manager?
All set, Mr. Chair.
All right, is there anything any further?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Ladies and gentlemen, our next meeting is on February 20th as a town council. We have a deliberative session on Saturday at 9 a.m. Please turn up and be heard. With that, I'll take a vote to adjourn.
Aye.
Aye.
And we are adjourned, ladies and gentlemen. Good night.